Hello and welcome. It's Delia. I'm so glad that you're here. So there's a couple of things that were coming up earlier today that I wanted to come on and do a live about. Uh, One of them is, as I put in the description, about getting bigger. And when you get bigger than whatever is going on, you discover you have more perspective, you have more clarity, you have more calm and peace. And you just have a much better perspective of whatever is going on. And this is true whether it's something like being judged, right? So a lot of times uh, when we're being judged by some people, we don't care, but by the people that we care about, that whether or not they judge us, we care a lot. We get very invested, and we get so much invested that it can be as though we're going to die, or we're going to die of mortification, or um, be embarrassed to death, or just these really, really intense emotions. And one thing to understand about our bodies is that they are social creatures. We're person, even whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, we're all social creatures. And when we get a feeling of being cut from the herd or isolated or left out, you'll notice that if it's somebody that you really care about, or a family member or a family group, you'll notice that you have just a ginormous response to that. And it's as though you're going to die. And you want to be aware of that, because before vocabulary, before words, there are a couple other vocabularies that our bodies use before words. The first one is touch, right? Sensation and being touched. And another one is pictures. Now, I know that not everybody sees in pictures, but even people who don't see pictures in their adult life often did see pictures earlier. They understood the world through the emotional vibration, which is how we understand words, and through pictures. So it's either kinesthetic or visual, and even the visual has a kinesthetic property to it. These different capacities that we have that correspond with the five senses, they're not cut and dried, this, that, one or the other. They're in combination with each other. So there's such a thing as death pictures. So if you're having trouble finding your voice, or you're not sure how to stand up for yourself, or how to be more authentic you in your relationships and in the world, it's usually around having trouble finding your voice, because in some number of past lives, when you spoke up and out, you got killed for it. This is really a lot of women have this experience around the witch trials at various times, and being burnt at the stake for being a witch, or for doing medicine, when not allowed, being a midwife, and calling it witchery. Not the woman, but the people. And a lot of that murder that has happened over the millennia of women was not because they were witches, not because the people accusing them of being witches believed in witches, but they wanted the property, or they wanted something, or the woman had turned them down for sex. There's just a lot of stupid shit that gets categorized as because she was a witch. So everything that just brought up a lot of pictures, a lot of energy. So let's just destroy, de-story, disintegrate, and erase all of that. Yeah, do you choose to destroy, de-story, disintegrate all of that? Yes, I choose that. Destroy, de-story, disintegrate, and erase. Destroy, de-story, disintegrate, and erase. Yeah, a lot of past life being murdered stuff. And so some people don't believe in past lives, or they don't know about past lives. And so it feels like, oh, it was because, my second grade teacher was so awful and, slapped my wrist every time I spoke up, or, we'll locate the source story in this lifetime if we don't have a familiarity with getting bigger and previous lifetimes. But a lot of the things, especially having to do with being murdered and being killed, don't come from this lifetime, or else you wouldn't, because this body hasn't died yet, right? So it's important to know that because we're social animals, getting judged has a sensation of being separated from somebody that we love or care about, or as a family member. And so then it kind of sets up a threat, fear energy that we're being cut from the herd. We're going to be, sent out to die. And so, if you're cut out of the society in primitive times, in 20,000 years ago, it might have been challenging for you to survive without your tribe, without your people, right? So that origin warning sign is actually still very good and useful, but there's a lot of ways that it's been misapplied in this lifetime. So everything that brought up, and everywhere you're trying to figure out what I'm talking about, do you choose to destroy and uncreate all that kerfuffle? Yes, I choose that. Destroy, de-story, disintegrate, and erase. Destroy, de-story, disintegrate, and erase. So if you have, if you're afraid of being left out socially, that's going to register in the body as a death picture. And so you may have a sensation of that in, like in your hips areas, or you may have kind of a buzzy headache. There's lots of different ways that the energy can communicate with you using the sensations of your body. But two of the starkest things are like an urgency energy and a threat energy. And those are signs of what I'm calling death pictures, even though they're in a social setting instead of a car wreck setting, let's say. Because being cut out socially registers as death pictures to the body. And it makes total sense when you understand the way we're built. And part of getting bigger is to get out of the box of how we're told we are and how we're told we're built. My analogy for how we're described and what we're allowed to be is like we're given the handbook for a toaster oven. And we're actually, like a Ferrari, right? And both a toaster oven and a Ferrari have an electrical system. So out of, dumb luck and sheer odds, the manual for the toaster oven is going to be, it's going to give a solution or an answer for a question that we have, some percentage of that, 2% of the time, just enough to keep us in the lie that we're really just these little toaster ovens, and we have a very low capacity, and we have just a collection of cells and atoms that make up our organs, and our organs aren't worth much, and we don't know anything when we're born. That's why we have to go through all that education, because we don't know anything. There's just all these really crazy, when you think about it, lies about how limited and fragile and incapable we are. And, we are, in fact, infinite beings, energetic, that have these amazing bodies, physical. And our bodies are literally our soul's mate for this lifetime. To put it in body terms, our soul or spirit, the part that doesn't have matter, right? It's not a religious hierarchical thing. It's matter or non-matter, right? So your infinite self, your spirit self, took the, to put, like I said, to put this in physical terms, took the time and trouble to dream up this amazing body and the circumstances, who the parents are going to be, and where on the timeline, and all that stuff, literally so that spirit can walk in the world. And so your body really is your soul's mate for this lifetime. So everything that brought up, and everywhere you're trying to figure that out or deconstruct that or whatever it is, that energy, do you choose to destroy and uncreate all that times a gazillion? Yes, use that. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Yeah, see all those stories and explanations and conclusions, decisions, assumptions about just, anything, but in this moment about what I just said, takes you out of whether or not it's true, which you can sense, and takes you into how are you going to explain it to Aunt Madge, or what's Joe going to say about it, right? So you immediately kind of go out into the story, because you have to kind of reference what other people, how they're going to evaluate you for this information, which is really common in our society, because we tend to, the way the structures are set up, we're programmed, basically. And we get programmed with how we're supposed to be and how others are supposed to be. And a lot of other stuff, but we'll talk about programming another time. So let's destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase all that, and get back to getting bigger. If you have had a lot of emotionality in this lifetime, if you have been sensitive to energy and been called too sensitive or extremely sensitive, and if you've been kind of picked on for being emotional, as many of us have, and then you take that information and try to make it real, right? Because these are trusted people who have told you this. And so the message is that how you are is not right and is not good. And so you want to know how you can change. And just look at that. Just look at that right there. You're set up on a task of somebody else knows what's right or wrong. You don't. And so now you're going to go on the task of correcting what you don't know is wrong, because it's outside of you that's decided what's right or wrong. So how can you go forth and get into a rightness when you have the authority is outside of you about what's right and wrong? So then you end up in this clusterfuck maze of trying to figure things out, and you can never do it because the deciding factor is not in you, and the criteria is not in you, And so everything about it is going to keep you on the hamster wheel for, indefinitely. So everywhere that you have bought into that, and everywhere that you have been on the hamster wheel, trying to figure out what's right and what's wrong, and making you wrong for it, and thinking you're doing the right thing. See, it's just also crazy. Do you choose to destroy and uncreate all at times a gazillion? Yes. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. 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 So that's also a really great example of you being too small. The way you're defining you is the way somebody else is defining you. And so it feels twisted or mutilated. It feels bad, right? Because you're not the location of you. Somebody outside of you has the location of you, which doesn't even make sense. And yet that's how especially sensitive people often live. So part of getting bigger is just playing with expansion. And just close your eyes a minute and just pretend you're creating and destroying roses, whatever that might mean. Just picture a rose and blow it up, picture a rose and blow it up, and just, there you go. Just create and destroy roses. And just be aware of your whole body, from your tippy toes all through your legs, your hips, your torso, all across your shoulders and down your arms to the tips of your fingers, and up to the tips of your ears, and all through your back, and your underneath, and your front, and your top. There you go. And just keep pretending to create and destroy roses. And just allow yourself to fill your entire body, whatever that might mean. Just be all in you, from the tips of your toes, all through your legs and your torso, up to the top of your head, down your arms. Nice deep breath. And just expand out further. Just expand out to fill the entire room. And allow yourself to expand out further and be bigger than the entire town or city that you live in. Just be like 200 miles in every direction. Just imagine going down into the planet, the crystalline energy, 200 miles, and up into the stratosphere, to the left of you and the right of you. Just in 360 degrees, just expand out and out and out. Now, just imagine being aware of the timeline, and allow yourself to expand out across the timeline 1,000 years in every direction. And now just imagine expanding out beyond 10 million years in every direction. and 10 million miles in every direction. So just get a sense of expanding out through time and space, way beyond anything you could define. Yeah. And be aware of your sweet body. Have your hands somewhere on your body. And now just imagine a sea turtle. So a sea turtle lives about 120, 170 years. I don't know, a long time, a lot longer than a human. And now just imagine looking down from above at your life. And just notice what a difference it makes when you have over 100 years. And it's not like 100 years of degradation of your body. It's not like you're everybody's picture of too old, right? You have plenty of energy, you have plenty of spry. But imagine, I mean, this is 2020, so imagine what it would have been like if your life had started in 1900, before the Roaring Twenties, before any of the world wars. So there's just so much more leisure time, and there's eating watermelon, and it's summertime, so I have watermelon on the brain. We just get a sense of how time must have felt. It will feel like you're making it up. You're just imagining it. That's fine. Just feel what time felt like in 1900. And get a sense of the pace of the world in 1900. And I get a sense of the pace. Well, let's try 2019 before the COVID virus. Get a sense of the pace of 2019, December 2019. Big difference, right? And now get a sense of the pace in July 2020. See how different they all feel from each other? And notice how in 1900, you felt like there was more time and more space and more ease. I mean, imagine getting a letter and it has something difficult in it. And you have, days to respond, to intake the information, take it in, and then compose a letter and then mail it. I mean, an interaction like that could take 2 weeks or a month, depending on where they are, or longer, right? If you had to send it by ship or something across the ocean. Just notice what that does to your breathing and to how your body feels. Just notice what it feels like to have all the time in the world. Yeah. And then just pop on back over to December of 2019. And just notice how there's no time, there's no space, there's no grace, there's no time to think about anything. There's no time to kind of take something in and see how it feels and what you really think about it. before you have to respond. I mean, with Twitters and, just so much automatic and instantaneous response stuff. So that lack of time, although it is a collectively agreed upon thing, it's not real. The technology is instantaneous, but you don't have to be instantaneous. I mean, your car can go 120 miles an hour, right? Well, not only do you not have to go 120 miles an hour, you're not allowed to go 120 miles. It's not safe, right? And yet, because and even if the car has that capacity, doesn't mean you ever utilize it. And just because, our little adorable technology life has these capacities, we don't have to be a slave to them. We don't have to do things at the speed of a smartphone. Yeah. So everything that doesn't allow you to and perceive all of that, do you choose to destroy and uncreate at all times in God's city? Yes, I choose that. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. You can be bigger than your phone. You can be bigger than technology. You can make technology work for you and not work for technology. And anything that doesn't allow you to do that, you choose to destroy and uncreate all that times a gazillion. Yes, I choose that. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Destroy, destory, disintegrate, and erase. Okay, so when somebody judges you, and in this culture, everybody judges all the time until we learn how to not do it. But we're really, really pressured to do it all the time. So there are actually better ways to navigate your life through light and heavy. You follow the energy, and what feels true for you, what feels easy, what feels smooth for you is what's true for you. And what feels constricting and contracting and dark and heavy, that is not true for you. So when you're needing to make a decision, we're trained that our decision making needs to meet the specifications of a banker, somebody who's totally disinterested and inclined to say no. And so we have to get all of our ducks in a row, and we have to, do all this stuff. And none of it is required. What's required is just, close your eyes and think about whatever the thing is, and just get whether you have a sense of expansion or a sense of contraction, right? So if you're thinking about a job change, then you want to try on the energy and just notice if you start to breathe more easily and have a sense of calm or peace or excitement, or if you start to get really kind of intense and constricted. And what'll happen is over time, you'll start to clear out your vocabulary. So intense and constricted sometimes is actually excitement. And sometimes it's no. And so you have to try it. And nobody can tell you what your sensations are going to be. You have to discover for yourself. You have to discover your vocabulary. And the more you do use light and heavy, the more you will discover your vocabulary. And you'll start to notice for you the difference between fear and excitement, because they're actually very close together. And you'll start to understand you better. And so that locus thing that was outside of you before starts to reside in you because you're showing up for you, you're listening for you more and more. And that in itself will take away a lot of the crazy, because a lot of the crazy in our heads is because we're trying to work off premises that don't make the premise itself doesn't make any sense. The infrastructure that we're working with doesn't add up, doesn't make any sense. So everywhere that you have made yourself bad and wrong because you are trying to work within a structure or a system that inherently doesn't work, and everything that is, do you choose to destroy and uncreate at all times a godzillion? Yes, I choose that. Destroy, destroy, disintegrate, and erase. Destroy, destroy, disintegrate, and erase. Destroy, destroy, disintegrate, and erase. Excellent. All right, so as you go forward, use light and heavy instead of judgment and discernment. See how that goes for you. And ask your body, what are you trying to tell me when you have a feeling or a sensation that's confusing or confounding you? Close your eyes and ask your body to clarify. And if it doesn't work in the beginning, just keep trying. It'll, you kind of got to clean out the pipes a little bit. And if someone criticizes you or judges you, you can get bigger. So here's a great fun example of this. I was interacting with a young boy who he's a grandson of a friend. And over the summer with the COVID, we've spent a lot of the groups, families have all spent a lot of time together. They had to leave New York and come and stay here. So this little boy turned 6 over the summer, and he, for various reasons, really only likes his parents and tolerates other people. And I'm very peripheral. I'm not a big family member. And so I don't really count. And that's okay with me. It's fine. But, he's learning through the adults, and the way the adults communicate to and about me has let him know that I am not I'm not high on the pecking order. And so he was having a really challenging time when his parents went up to New York to move back, move all his stuff. And he was really working hard to hold it together. And we were interacting around the trampoline one afternoon. And he did something he knew not to do. And I was telling him that wasn't okay. But, I don't really count, right? So I don't really have much of a leg to stand on. And he was like really, really mad. And so he said, "You have big teeth." And I said, "Yes, I do. Thank you for noticing." And he was like apoplectic. And he's like, that was not a compliment. And I just didn't take his energy personal. I didn't take his admonishment personal. I didn't take his, he was trying to hurt me, right? And it's like, I totally get why you're doing this, kid. It makes total sense. You don't have to like me. It's okay. But we don't have to have that conversation because that doesn't make sense. But you're going to judge me? Okay, I can do that. I am actually bigger than that. And so you have examples like that in your life where you were able to just be bigger than whatever was happening. And you have examples in your life where you took it completely personal, and it was, we all do, right? We have these times when it's the exact person says the exact thing, and it's like, oh, it's so devastating. but you have examples of getting small and you have examples of getting bigger. And so play with looking for the examples of where you have gotten bigger and it was okay. Whatever happened, you didn't take it personal, you didn't take it in, you didn't take it on. And then once you're aware that those you have choices, especially in these hyper traumatic times, right? Turns out you really do have choices. And you can choose to take what somebody says personal, and you can choose to just get bigger. And you can start to explore and discover for yourself. I love adventure. So you can start adventuring with how are you going to take things? And what would it be like to get bigger? And what would it be like to get bigger on purpose, like at the first thing of the day? And what would it be like to get bigger when someone has stepped on your toes and hurt your feelings, right? So the more you're playing with it, you're bringing in that energy of lightness. And it's like all kinds of things are possible. That if you're getting really small and taking it all very personal, those possibilities still exist, but you're going to be really invested in no, they don't. Because that's how we're built. We're adorable that way. So play with getting bigger and see what happens. And, give yourself a gold star every time you catch what's going on and you get bigger. And just see what happens. Because you're definitely bigger than all of the definitions of you. That's for sure. All right, so thanks for joining me today, and I'll talk to you again soon.